rest.
Can't see anything.
The remains of the plane.
Yes! And there it is, right where I left it.
On September 24th, 2024, Madison Clydesdale, creator of a channel rooted in solo hiking and quiet wilderness travel, stepped into the deep backcountry of British Columbia, with only her dog, Cairo, beside her. Her goal was simple but unsettling: reach the wreckage of a historic plane crash hidden in grizzly territory. The trail itself looked calm enough, but the silence of those mountains carried a weight she couldn't quite name. Madison began her journey driving along rough back roads, pushing deeper into the British Columbia wilderness as she explained her plan to reach the abandoned plane wreck.
I wish I brought my day pack, but we're gonna have to work with what we got. And as usual, into grizzly territory we go. I haven't been in grizzly territory by myself basically all summer, so it is always a little bit nerve-wracking at first. This trail actually has a plane crash. It's a memorial trail at the top. It's one of the largest known plane crashes in the area, or maybe in British Columbia. So we're gonna check out the plane crash. Kiro is so full of energy today. I like the quieter trails so that he can go off leash. These look brand new, these side railings. Okay, I'm coming. This was one of the first areas that I went hiking when I first moved to British Columbia. I was with my mom. You guys would have seen her in some of my other videos, but I got really scared. I didn't know enough about bears, so just got in my head and I started like having a little breakdown on trail. I was just certain that we were gonna see a grizzly. And now look at where we are, almost 3 years later. You guys look. A blueberry. Oh, it's really sour. It's so good. A little burst of energy. Just taking another rest. We've got less than a kilometer left until the top. I could fall asleep right here. I'm wearing new hiking shoes and I didn't pre-tape. I always pre-tape my heels. And it's starting to get a little blister, so I'm just gonna do a little first aid on it.
The solitude grew clearer with every mile, reminding her exactly how far she was from safety. Yet the quiet of the mountains felt like the beginning of something heavier. When she finally stepped onto the trail, Madison and Cairo moved into dense forest, and she admitted the fear she carried, hiking alone in grizzly territory. She kept her voice steady, making noise to avoid surprising anything that lived there. But the deeper she climbed, the more that fear began to feel justified. As the elevation rose, so did the strain. Steep grades and long stretches of trail drained her stamina, forcing her to slow down and breathe through the weight of the climb. She pushed on, knowing the wreck was somewhere above. Still, the mountain seemed intent on reminding her that she was being watched by more than the trees.
We made it, and I'm a little sad I didn't bring my camping stuff because there's no one up here. There were some people at the monument when I first got here, but they cleared out, and now there's nobody else up here. It is like a playground, an outdoor playground. I could just run through the rock hills. Kira doesn't want to run with me though because he's tired. But I will say, I feel 100% comfortable right now. As soon as it gets dark, there's a memorial right there. I am going to start hearing ghost noises. I already feel like it's weird to like smile and like it's like a place of rest. I don't know. Is it disrespectful to camp here? There are some tent pads, which I'm I caught the camera. Anyways, there are some tent pads, but we have to get the heck out of here. It's been like 4 hours since I started this hike. No, probably almost 5 hours. And it's about 2 hours down and it's gonna get dark in 3. So, and there's no one else on this trail now. the remains of the plane. That's the propeller there. R.I.P. Grandpa, it would have been nice to have known you. Grandma always thought of you. That's sweet. Hero. There's a little stream for him here. Got this mountain range on one side, this mountain range on the other. This place is really amazing and it's just all rock. Just love being out here. Oh my gosh, makes me so happy.
At last, the forest opened onto the remnants she came for. Scattered pieces of metal still resting where tragedy had struck decades earlier. Madison stood among them, taking time to reflect in silence. There were no words, only the presence of what remained, and high on that ridge, the stillness carried its own kind of memory. With daylight slipping away, she began her descent, deciding it was safest to leave the mountain before nightfall. She mentioned concerns about her camera, then searched for a place to camp that wasn't known for nightly bear activity. Eventually, she found a spot and settled in, ending a day marked by exhaustion, caution, and quiet reflection. Some viewers noted that Cairo's behavior during the descent resembled reactions dogs have when sensing nearby wildlife, especially in grizzly regions. Others pointed out how remote crash sites often hold an unusual stillness, leaving open the question of what truly lingers in places shaped by tragedy. If she had stayed longer on that ridge, alone with fading light and a silent forest, would the night have unfolded the same way? Or did she leave just moments before something stepped out of the trees? Hold on a sec. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's continue. On September 25th, 2025, a solo hiker from the YouTube channel Hiking Movie stepped onto the Pacific Crest Trail near Sierra City, California. Her channel usually captures quiet landscapes, trail life, and the small human moments along long-distance routes. But on this day, as she moved deeper into the forest, the calm began to thin. Something in the trees seemed to watch her pace, as if the trail wasn't as empty as it looked.
Welcome to Sierra City, population 225. Yes, the bear did this, trying to get into the ice. You comfortable?
I'm comfortable. Yeah, we're chilling. Yeah. We're going to the trailhead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in a 5-person car.
There's another one over there.
Off to the trailhead.
And Arlo in the back.
I'm in the back.
And all the packs.
She began her morning in Sierra City, surrounded by a handful of hikers packing into a single car headed for the trailhead. While waiting, she pointed out claw marks on a cooler near the cafe, evidence of how close wildlife wandered into town. It was a simple reminder that the wilderness didn't start at the tree line, a quiet hint of what waited ahead. Hours later, the climb began. From 6,100 feet to more than 8,000, the trail rose through dry slopes and pockets of dense forest. Flies swarmed her pack, and the world around her narrowed into the sound of her breathing and boots grinding uphill. The higher she went, the more the forest seemed to listen. But something else was about to break the stillness.
Going through a little logged area. Man, you can sure see the view. Oh wow, look at this. Hope we get a better view of it in that waterfall. I felt like I was being watched again, and I definitely was. What a cutie. There must be another one over there. I hear other noises too. You're cute.
I just saw something large moving through the trees. I couldn't tell what it was.
just saw something walking in the trees, but now I'm hearing this meowing. Couldn't see what it was. It was just a movement, and then it disappeared. Well, it got quiet as soon as I started walking. It heard crunching, but it was somewhere up there. I don't see anything now, and it's totally quiet. It was moving away, though. I could hear it getting farther and farther away. And here's the view on the other side, getting up near the top of the mountain. Still not there yet. I think it's like 6 o'clock. I'm not going to make it as far as I'd hoped. Great, the trail's turning, going right over where I heard the meowing. Trip on a rock. Coming closer. What are you? I'm a long ways from where I first heard it. Crap. Better not be a mountain lion following me. What the heck? Hey! It's going farther away now. Now it's closer. Dang, what is that? Can't see anything. Oh, I'm gonna keep hiking. Good news and bad news. Good news is I haven't heard it in a while. And also good news is cats don't normally meow when they're
Stalking something, but it's quiet now.
Other bad news is my next camping spot has a bear that comes nightly, so I don't think I'm going to camp there, which means I have to go farther.
Near the ridge, she stopped. A large shape shifted between the trees, too big to be the insects she'd been battling and too quick to ignore. She watched the movement slip out of sight, leaving only the feeling that whatever it was hadn't finished with her yet. And the forest soon confirmed it wasn't done. Then came the sound, a sharp, strange meowing that echoed from the trees, sometimes close, sometimes drifting further away. It repeated again and again, unlike anything she'd heard on the trail. She called out, hoping it would retreat, but the sound continued to answer from different angles. And even when the noise faded, the unease stayed. As daylight thinned, the sounds finally stopped. She reminded herself that cats usually didn't call out while stalking, but the earlier movement still lingered in her mind. When she reached the planned campsite, recent bear reports pushed her to keep going. Eventually, she found a quieter clearing and settled under a fading sky, grateful for the silence, though not entirely trusting it. Some viewers insisted the sound was nothing more than a Douglas squirrel's alarm call. Others argued that the silence of the forest, the shifting shape in the trees, and the repeated vocalizations lined up too closely with larger predators, or something less easily explained. If the noise belonged to a squirrel, then what created the heavy movement she saw before it began? And why did the forest fall so quiet in the moments leading up to it? On November 1st, 2025, inside the vast and silent reaches of Kielder Forest near the Scottish border, the creator of 80 Skid Outdoors set out to find a remote bothy before nightfall. His channel focuses on solo treks and overnight shelters scattered across the UK. But as the light drained faster than expected, the forest turned his simple plan into something far more unsettling.
Okay, today I've come back to the Kielder Forest in the north of England, right near the border of Scotland. And I'm a bit tired and I'm racing against the dark again because I actually did my last video earlier today where I went and saw the B-29 bomber in the Midlands. And yeah, it took a bit longer to get up here than I thought. And I've probably got about 35 minutes left before the sun goes down officially. But maybe 40-45 minutes of actual daylight where I can see. We'll see. We've got to head that way, round a bend, further up with the forest on the right hand side, I think, and then we've got to cut through, and that's where it gets a bit sketchy because the satellite image shows a trail that goes to the bothy on one side, but the OS map doesn't show that trail, so not sure about it. We're gonna have to wait and see. There really isn't a great deal of daylight left now, and I don't want to be potentially going through boggy stuff in the dark, so I need to get going. So for now at least, we've got this lovely logging track. But by the looks of it, at some point you've got to veer off of this to go towards the bothy. It's not right on this track. It's kind of in the middle of, you know, a grassy area. So that's why I'm thinking it could be boggy. So I've reached the junction that's a bit sketchy. So I've come up the track. It does continue on down there, but this forks off to the right, and I can hear my voice echoing in the forest. That's really creepy. Hello? Oh my god. Anyway, the satellite image shows this road going all the way to the right of the bothy. But if it goes into the forest now, it's going to be dark down there, so I'm a bit scared about that. Oh, careful not to fall in the ditch down there. There we go. Yeah, hearing my voice echo in the forest then was definitely unnerving.
He started the hike with barely 40 minutes of daylight left, already racing the dusk. The map showed a straightforward route, but the forest canopy felt heavier than expected. Each minute slipped away faster than his pace could adjust, and the pressure to find the bothy grew sharper with the fading sky. But when he reached the first junction, the night began to complicate everything. The satellite map and the OS map refused to agree. One claimed an open clearing. The other insisted on dense young trees. What stood in front of him matched neither. He pressed forward into a narrow corridor of fresh plantation, the ground soft and uneven beneath his feet. In the deepening dark, even his own voice echoed back strangely between the trunks. Moments later, the forest forced him to make a choice in near total darkness.
I found what looks like the trail, but unlike in the satellite image where it's open ground, it's been planted. That looks like the trail, which is bad news, because it means I've got to go up there. I don't know if it looks maybe a little bit more open further down. Nope, I cannot see anything for trees. There's a little burn here, but it's over here somewhere. It's got to be here somewhere. So I'm just hoping that if I follow this track across this little burn, it'll veer right towards it. It's very dodgy, but anyway, I think we're right on top of it, so it's just gonna have to walk around a bit. It's here somewhere. We're a bit higher now. It's not so boggy. There was a couple of moments where I was a bit scared about sinking, but this definitely looks like something or someone has been this way.
The trail grew wetter, the earth turning boggy in patches he could no longer see clearly. The last traces of twilight vanished behind the tree line, and every step became a calculation between moving forward or sinking into terrain he didn't fully understand. Then, through the thick black ahead, a faint silhouette finally appeared. For the first time since entering the forest, relief cut through the tension. The outline solidified into Flittingford Bothy. Inside, the simple single-room shelter felt like a victory. Wooden platform, an open fireplace, and quiet stillness. Later, he stepped back out to mount a wildlife camera on a nearby log before returning inside to settle in for the night.
There we go. We'll have a proper look around once we've settled in, but I found the place. Oh my god, thank goodness. I'm assuming no one's in. I can't see any light coming from the building, but we'll give it a knock anyway. Hello? Oh, here it is, folks. No one's here, nice and cozy, and plenty of spaces to bed down, and there's an open fire there, so I need to sort myself out. That was getting a bit scary towards the end. Well, skin on my teeth there. Thank goodness there was some kind of discernible track there, otherwise I could have potentially just got lost. Well, somebody's left 4 cans of Stella. How cool is that? I'm not going to drink them though. Got to drive in the morning. There's a brand new carbon monoxide alarm up there. This whole bunking area looks fairly new. There's some skylights, plenty of washing lines. It's looking quite tidy, I like it. So, Flittingford Bothy used to be a shepherd's hut until it was abandoned after World War II. It then got swallowed up by the forest and forgotten about, and it was only rediscovered when the trees around it were being harvested in 2014. The roof had collapsed and it looked a bit sorry for itself, but the Mountain Bothy Association decided to take the place on, and in 2016 they started the work needed to turn it into the lovely little cabin we see here now. Right, I've finished my food, but it's late now. It's nearly 9 o'clock already. I washed up everything, so I don't have to worry about that now in the morning. Probably isn't going to be as much of a rodent problem in here tonight, and I've had a couple of videos now with mouse footage, so maybe I'm going to see if there's somewhere where I can put my wild cam outside. But yeah, let's go and see if we can find somewhere to attach it, and hopefully we'll get some results in the morning. Ooh. It is very dark. Could attach it to one of these posts, but it's angled so it'll be pointing up. There are no drain pipes anywhere. Let's go and have a look over here. Yeah, I think there is a drain pipe, but it's on the other end of the building, and I really don't want to wade through that to get to it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I probably could attach it to that, but I don't know if anything's going to come in here. You never know though, it might do. Yeah, I'll put it on there, I think. There we go, I reckon that'll work. Not sure it'll catch anything, but that's not a bad spot. Right, let's go back inside. Yeah, so that felt tight enough on the wood there. Hopefully it doesn't come undone and crash on the floor in the middle of the night and break. But yeah, that's not a bad spot. So if anything comes venturing into the little front yard there, we'll see it, hopefully. So I've turned the main overhead light off now, and I'm just chilling by candlelight and flames from the fire, and it looks so cool, to be honest. Hopefully nothing creepy happens. I am actually going to turn in though. I think it's getting quite late. I'm very tired. I need to get my boots off. Had them on all day long. So yeah, if anything happens during the night, then I'll turn the camera on and let you know as always, but hopefully I'll just get a nice quiet night and sleep like a log, and I'll just see you in the morning. Anyway, good night.
At sunrise, he discovered how tangled and boggy his route truly was, reviewed the camera, catching only a small mouse, and cleaned the bothy before heading toward Fallstone for breakfast. Several viewers noted how disorienting Kielder Forest becomes after dark, and how easily someone could misjudge boggy ground without noticing. The echoing voice and conflicting maps turned his short hike into a narrow margin between confidence and becoming completely lost. If your only guide was fading daylight and echoes bouncing through the trees, would you still push deeper into the forest, or turn back before the darkness made the decision for you? On March 3rd, 2023, in the frozen depths of the Grand Canyon, a hike meant to test endurance nearly turned into something far more dangerous. Dan Becker, known for his outdoor adventures and backpacking content on his self-titled YouTube channel, set out with 2 friends to cross the canyon in winter. But as daylight faded and exhaustion crept in, the canyon exposed a side even experienced hikers rarely speak about.
We started out at the south rim at about 7,000 feet.
Welcome to the Grand Canyon, my friend.
Wow. The Grand Canyon is a vertical mile straight down. The trail to get to the bottom of the canyon is 7 miles long, so that's a ton of switchbacks, which I normally hike very well down. I don't really have any issues at all. I'm actually pretty quick hiking downhill.
This is the South Kaibab Trail. It's 7 miles. This is the steeper route. We'll make it to the river, and then we're going to go another 7 miles to camp tonight.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much what's going on.
Whoa. I was this close to taking off my jacket and my crampons. The wind is just howling on us. And the sand coming out of the canyon is like crazy too.
We're underground. Oh. I hate to say it, but I really feel like we're at a low point of our trip.
Made it to the Phantom Ranch. That's kind of nice. I was feeling good, but then it was a 7-mile trek to Cottonwood. That was another 7 miles of a steady uphill. Not real huge incline, but 7 miles after coming 7 miles down.
Unfortunately, we're probably going to be hiking into the dark when we get to camp, so that's kind of a bummer.
Emmett, how you feeling? Decent. I got some ibuprofen in my system. Back still hurting, or? Back still hurting, but we're making through.
We fit that part of the night. Whew. Darkness has descended upon us. This trail just keeps going on and on. Good freaking work, dude.
They began their descent from the south rim, stepping onto the South Kaibab Trail as powerful winds pushed against them. Dust lifted from the ground and stung their faces, yet Dan felt steady. Descending had always been his strength. Hours later, they reached Phantom Ranch, unaware that the hardest part of the journey still waited above them. But somewhere between confidence and fatigue, the canyon quietly shifted the odds. From Phantom Ranch, the group pushed toward Cottonwood Campground, a stretch of 7 miles that rose gently but demanded more than Dan expected. Pain spread through his legs, slowing him down until every step felt heavier than the last. Darkness settled early, and the final miles dragged into a quiet struggle Dan nearly couldn't finish. And as night swallowed the trail, something inside him had already begun to fail.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. We knew that a week or so prior, there was a huge snowstorm that came through that buried the North Rim in snow and could be anywhere from 5 to 10 feet of snow at the top. And so we started the ascent the next morning, which our ascent over about another 7 miles was going to be about 5,600 feet.
To keep going, we can either traverse down below through here. That snow might be super deep, don't really know. We can take a look and see if we can get behind there.
Woo! That's crazy looking. I think we should get at least one person through first, and then we can pass here. Good.
That was actually very tight.
I think I'm gonna try the low route, and then maybe we could shuffle gears somehow that way.
Once we got to about, I'd say, I don't know, mile 3.5, that's when we were realizing the depth of the snow that we were getting in.
How deep do you think the snow is?
I mean, we're definitely standing at least on top of 5 feet of snow.
There were times we didn't even know if we were on trail. We had to look at a map on our phones to guide us, to tell us if we were even on a switchback, and to find out when the switchback was even going to kick back the opposite direction. So Eric, Jake, and Emmett were probably 5 or 6 switchbacks up ahead of me. This whole trek was, nobody had done this yet. There wasn't a single marking in the snow that gave any sign of anybody else having been there since the snowfall probably a week prior. Started to develop some really serious chest pains. They were coming in waves, on and off. Sometimes they would last 10 seconds, sometimes they would last 10 minutes. And then about 2 miles from the top, it was as if someone had flipped a light switch off in my body, and my body was like, we're done. We're not moving any farther. There's no way we're gonna keep doing this. I was scared to death. It was dark now, pitch black. Temperature was around 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and all of a sudden I see a headlamp coming back towards me, and it was Eric coming back down and was not wearing a backpack. And he looked at me and he says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." He said, "Give me your backpack." And it was at that moment I completely broke down. It was humbling because no hiker wants to give somebody else their backpack. They want to finish the hike with their backpack on. But I knew that I was incapable of moving without handing him my backpack. We probably hiked maybe 4 switchbacks, 5 switchbacks up to where he had dropped his backpack. And so obviously I knew at that moment I was gonna have to grab my backpack back. We thought we were gonna make it to the top of the North Rim by about 5 or 6 p.m. We didn't get there till after 10 p.m.
The next morning, they climbed toward the North Rim, breaking trail through snow that rose from 5 to 10 feet deep. No tracks, no guidance, only an endless white slope pulling strength from their bodies. 2 miles from the top, sharp chest pain hit Dan in waves, draining what little he had left. Eric doubled back to help carry Dan's pack as they reached the rim hours later than planned. Yet even on solid ground, the danger refused to let go.
It's probably getting close to 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't think I've slept at all. I'm having severe chest pains all night long.
So, it's 5 in the morning. Dan's not doing good. He was struggling coming up the trail. Got him into bed. He slept, passed out real. I think we need to call somebody.
Mike 911, where's your emergency?
Hi, I'm at the North Rim Trailhead, just outside of Jacob Lake. Well, last night, and my buddy is in distress. He's got some pretty severe chest pain. I think we might need to get him out to some sort of help.
Just a moment for me. I'm going to get somebody paged out to you, okay? This is 911.
Yeah.
I'm letting you know that we do have a single ranger on location at the North Rim who is responding.
Okay.
There's no ambulance service out of the park. The only way out of the park from that location would be air ambulance if it's necessary.
Okay.
Take your time, man.
I'm a lot better. Yeah, they got an IV in me. They give me like drugs, which is super good.
So Dan will not be continuing the journey with us here on the Grand Canyon.
At a hospital, and right now they're saying that I have severe muscle breakdown, and it could be affecting my kidneys.
And that's called rhabdomyolysis. It's when you overexert yourself to the point where your muscles begin to break down. They release a toxic protein that then goes and destroys your kidneys.
By 4 a.m., Dan lay in his tent near the North Rim trailhead, unable to sleep, fighting pain that grew tighter with every breath. An hour later, the group used their satellite device to call for rescue. Snow blocked all access, forcing a plow to cut through nearly 20 miles so paramedics could reach him. At the hospital in Kanab, Utah, doctors discovered the cause, rhabdomyolysis, a silent breakdown of muscle that could have shut down his kidneys. Dan remained hospitalized for days, beginning a slow recovery. Several viewers with medical and rescue experience warned that symptoms like Dan's often escalate long before hikers realize it. Former rangers and survivors echoed the same message. Most people push past the moment they should have stopped. And in winter, that hesitation becomes dangerous fast. One comment pointed out something unsettling. Many hikers never notice the exact moment their body begins to fail. It raises a quiet question. If the pain had struck miles earlier in the darkness, would rescue even have been possible? On June 1st, 2024, high in the Inyo Mountains of Eastern California, Brent from Ghost Town Living set out alone on a path almost erased by time. His channel often uncovers abandoned mining camps and forgotten settlements, but this journey along the old Lonesome Miners Trail carried a heavier atmosphere. Each mile drew him deeper into landscapes shaped by people who once worked, struggled, and then vanished, leaving the mountains to hold their stories.
So this hike is hard. I'm at about 3,700 feet in elevation right now. What I'm gonna try to get to by tonight is 9,700 feet. And I know it's hard because I actually tried this hike about 5 months ago. And I did this first day. I got up above 9,700 feet and my backpack broke. And my hope, kind of the crux of this whole hike, that those items are still there. The second big issue with this hike is water. Obviously I can't hike in enough water for 4 or 5 days, so I need to rely on these springs. And because very few people do this hike every year, there's not very good information about the status of these springs. So I really need to find these springs, which I don't know exactly where they are, and I need those springs to have water. I'm up near 6,000 feet now, so we're climbing pretty steadily. All right, I'm at about 7,000 feet in elevation now. I am a little concerned about the speed at which I'm going. It has just been a slog up these hills so far. Pack's feeling pretty heavy. All right, I'm closing in on 8,000 feet in elevation, and the trail's getting a little bit harder to find, but I just saw this, also known as a cairn. So a cairn is a stack of rocks that other hikers have left to indicate, hey, this is the trail. There's something a little comforting if you see a small cairn along the way. All right, I am up over 9,000 feet in elevation now. There it is, Saline Valley. This is just stunning. So now, the next step in this process is to find my stuff. If this isn't here,
And this is the end of my hike, once again. Yeah, this is the rock I thought about putting it in, and then somewhere lower, I ended up throwing it in a tree. There we are, baby! Yes! Yes! And there it is, right where I left it about 5 or 6 months ago. Oh man, this is so heavy. Yes! The hike can continue. This is awesome. This is gonna make the whole thing possible right here. All right, we have the Jetboil, a jacket, a tripod, a sleeping bag and a waterproof bag, an air pillow, an air pad, some ginger fried rice with beef.
Brent began his climb from the foothills, pushing upward toward the supply bag he had hidden 5 months before. The ascent from 3,700 feet to nearly 9,700 tested every step he took. When he reached the narrow rock crevice where he had stored his pack, it was still there, untouched, dry, exactly as he left it. It felt as if the mountain had guarded it, waiting for his return. But what waited farther ahead held the real echoes.
Here's one of Pat Key's cabins, and this is where he was spending his days. There's still some remnants of him. There's his canteen, there's a blasting caps tin. We're gonna go peeking into his mine. You can see this is the California Cap Company, XXX. What remains of his life is a bunch of tins, some piping. On the road again. The path is gonna be much less defined. Each day the path's gonna be harder to find, but each day we're getting to a bigger and bigger mining camp. Right now, I am needing to go down this valley you see in front of me and ideally find a spring as well as the mill site of Pat Key's. You can see along the bottom of the canyon the bright green trees, which must be where the water is. I'm getting closer to the canyon floor. Ooh, we got ourselves our first sign of humans. Oil. Pat Key's is down here somewhere. I see some wood. We see some signs of humans. Old camp for old Pat down here by the mill. There's a lot of remnants from the past here, like this. I don't know what it is, but is that for some type of mill? Getting myself down here was one thing. Imagine getting all these pickaxes they had to have down here. We got a little knife, a ladle, fireplace, pan. I don't even know what's in there. I don't want to open it. It's so peaceful here. Old saw, books, pans, little trail down to the spring. Look at that. Running water way out here. That is awesome. And here we go. This is Pat Key's mill, otherwise known as an arrastra. It's a primitive mill that's used to grind and pulverize the rock. So imagine flat rocks on the bottom, a circle like this, throw the ore in, and you basically are just dragging around a circle. So something would have walked around here. Sometimes that could be a human, sometimes it could be a mule, sometimes it could be steam powered. Turn the rocks in a circle, and that's gonna grind up your ore. And this is a method that's been done since.
Not long after, he found the stone cabin once used by Pat Key's in the late 1800s. Inside were remnants of the miner's daily life. Containers, blasting caps, worn tools, resting exactly where they had been placed generations earlier. Continuing down a steep valley, he reached a small stream and discovered an arrastra carved into the ground, where ore had once been crushed. The scene felt strangely recent, though no footsteps had touched the dust in decades.
Well, we're not quite all the way down into McElroy Canyon yet. This, I want to say it's part of a stamp mill, some type of pulverizer. It's very heavy, it's solid. I read reports that Pat Key's would bring his ore over here for refining. My favorite part of going to these very obscure places is seeing signs of human life and trying to understand why those people were here. You know, there was McElroy Canyon. That is why people knew it. But these days, this canyon is much better known for a beekeeper. A beekeeper way out here, a few days hike from the closest town. So I think in the 1980s, some people started researching the area. They were hiking up from the Saline Valley side, and they found these waterfalls. These were 100-foot, 200-foot waterfalls. And in these waterfalls were these crazily constructed ladders made out of twine and wood that are going right up the waterfall, insanely dangerous. So people started thinking, what is going on here? They made it up further in the canyon. They found some huts, and these huts had beekeeping equipment in them. It had the helmets, the nets, the little smokers. What in the world? What is somebody doing beekeeping? And then finally, in the 1990s, they tracked him down, the beekeeper of McElvoy Canyon. And his name was Marion Howard. In the 1960s, he started just coming into this canyon. So this man was determined. And throughout all of those travels, he never used a pack mule. It was just him and a canvas duffel sack. Over here we have one of his smokers. That is so cool. That's how you smoke out the bees. Oh my God. Oh, one of his beekeeper nets to keep the bees out. I think these would have been for the honeycombs. These would have been the trays that are sat inside of the comb. There's some straw. It looks like this was his bed. You can see there's canvas down. He brought in a bunch of straw to act as his bed. And there's his canvas duffel sack, like I read about. The clothes are still in the canvas sack. He wasn't lying. I've read about this story for so long, and now to be out here and see this place is just so cool. That makes the whole trip worthwhile for me.
The trail then dropped into McElvoy Canyon, a deep, rugged corridor. Brent spoke of Marion Howard, the reclusive beekeeper who lived there from the 1960s to the 1990s. At his abandoned camp, tools for tending bees were still arranged in familiar positions, and a canvas bag of clothing remained undisturbed. Nearby, a hidden waterfall fed a lush patch of green, an unexpected softness surrounded by silence that hinted at long-forgotten routines.
We are just starting to get into the Keenot mining district. As we get further down, there was a mining operation that tried to get this going again, I believe in the 70s or 80s. Wow! And look, as we're going down towards that mining equipment, what we have. We got track, and on the track, ore carts, multiple. That is so cool. Does it move on the track? That would be so freaking... It does! Now where is this coming from? I assume a mine. Sheet metal, easy building material. So all of this more mining equipment here in the Keenot complex was brought in. There's a company called the Far West Exploration Company, and they helicoptered in this recovery plant. So imagine helicoptering all of this in. And they planned on building a road into here and doing all these things. They lasted less than a year, and then they had to get out of here. The problem was water. But I love the fact that these belts are still on. The things are still here. That is crazy. I don't even know, what is this? I don't know the answer to this, of how a bulldozer like this would get in here. This thing must weigh 20, 30,000 pounds. It's also interesting to think that somebody parked right here almost 40 years ago now. Tiny trails, really hard trails to get in here, and you have this. Now we're off to Beveridge, the most intact, the most isolated ghost town out there. And here it is, Beveridge Canyon. Before we know it, we're down to one of the tram stations. You can kind of see the little cart up there, all the way down to here, all the way down into the canyon where the water is and the stamp mill is. Once was down at the end of the tramway, way down in the canyon, the beginning of Beveridge. The outhouse to nowhere. Look at what this thing is supported by. It's supported by a branch. That is something else. So this is the stamp mill, and you can see it has those poles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the bottom are very heavy mallet, basically. These wheels, most were constructed, I believe, probably on site, because unlike the Keenot mine, all this was built in place and lived here. And right next to it is a boiler. So I imagine this is creating steam to power this wheel to crush all the ore they needed to crush. So down in here, there we go. Home sweet home where the water's flowing. Hello? Is anyone home? Hold back. Old Frenchie's cabin. A classic where I spent some good days a couple years ago. Looks about how I left it. Spent some good nights on these beds. This is your view. Pretty nice.
As Brent continued toward Keenot, he found rusted ore carts still perched on their rails. Beyond them were machines left behind in the 1980s. A bulldozer, a generator container, and heavy equipment placed in locations accessible only by helicopter. Near the furnace and crucible used to process ore, time felt tangled, as if work had stopped suddenly and no one had returned to finish the job. Reaching Beveridge, the largest ghost settlement, he walked beneath tall tramway towers and past the peculiar outhouse suspended over empty space. The towering stamp mill still stood, its heavy chutes rusting in the quiet. Finally, at Frenchie's cabin, hidden in wild rose bushes, Brent ended his 4-day trek reflecting on the history scattered across these mountains and the strange stillness preserving it. Some viewers wondered how so many artifacts could remain untouched. Carts on rails, tools arranged neatly, clothing left in bags. Their comments raised an unsettling question. Did people leave these places slowly? Or did something make them go all at once? As Brent walked away from the final cabin, the silence seemed to linger behind him. If everything was left exactly where it belonged, who placed the last item down? And why did they never return? On April 11th, 2025, deep in the Tennessee mountains, the creator behind Dead Appalachia set out to locate a long-abandoned prison mining outpost, one worked by convicts nearly a century ago. His channel usually uncovers forgotten structures and Appalachian history, but this place held something heavier. The forest felt unsettled, the trail unpredictable, and the silence lingering around him didn't just belong to the past. It felt like something was waiting.
Howdy critters, welcome back. I'm Mr. Appalachia, and we are here in the mountains of Appalachia exploring an abandoned prison outpost. Yeah, I am getting well and truly soaked right now. Luckily, all the clothes I'm wearing right now should dry quickly in the car. Feral hogs active in this area. Control measures may be in place. Do not approach control devices or animals. This place has changed quite a bit since I've been here. There's some man-made structure, so I think we're getting to the right place. There have been some major washouts and floods since I came here last. The entire trail is just bowled over with trees and debris that I'm gonna have to climb through to get to the prison. All right, we found our first signs of human structures. We got like a concrete kind of box right there, and we got the very first of the mines. Let's go check it out, huh? Oh Lord, I hope there's nothing in here that's gonna attack me. I'm sure I'm gonna have to brighten this up, but yeah, the water's flooded in here in this part of the mine. But am I gonna go in there? Absolutely fucking not. There's a foul smell coming from in there, so I don't know if it's gonna be toxic or if I'm gonna get collapsed on with all this rainwater. Some power lines going down that way towards the penitentiary. Goes further up that way. I'm a little concerned that I'm actually supposed to be up there, because I don't remember that. I think I was supposed to go up that way, so if I don't find the prison down here, I'll just climber up that way. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that I went the wrong direction. Yeah, I reckon what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna climber up that mountain to where I'm pretty sure I was supposed to go, and we'll just continue the exploration from there. Now, let's talk options, all right? What I could do is go all the way back there, get back on the trailhead, and go up the safe way. But I think y'all already know the way that I'm gonna choose. Fuck it, let's do it live. Oh, this is gonna be some steep shit. Halfway up there, there's the other half, the steepest half. We up here. Oh, we really climbed all that, huh? I think this right here is the trail where we're supposed to go. So we're just gonna keep going. There's another structure up here. This definitely wasn't here last time. So I'm definitely still lost. I can't even begin to imagine what this might have been used for. All right, I have consulted with the GPS guru. I'm not supposed to be up here. I'm not supposed to be down there where I was. I was supposed to be on that third landing way down there. That's the one that leads to the prison outpost. So I just wasted like an hour going somewhere I'm not even supposed to be. All right, we're where we're supposed to be. Check her out. More support beams, more structures. And then right here we have one of the actual mines. The last time I was up here about a year ago, this was metal bars that went vertical. So someone had like hit it and made it to where you could climb through. But it looks like since then they rectified that. Just all this rock and the water dripping off is really cool.
He began by pushing into dense Appalachian woods, where the first sign he met wasn't historical. It was a warning about feral hogs. Flood damage had twisted the landscape, scattering debris and erasing parts of the trail. When he finally spotted the first mine opening, the air was thick, wet, and unpleasant. He refused to step inside, aware of how unstable it had become. Yet even turning away didn't ease the feeling that the forest was watching. But the real shift happened when he realized the woods had quietly sent him in the wrong direction. By the time he noticed he had drifted off the correct path, turning back no longer made sense. Instead, he clawed up a steep hillside, an exhausting shortcut meant to reconnect with the old route. Only after regaining the trail did he realize more than an hour had been swallowed by that mistake. When he reached the outpost, the first structure waiting for him was a mine entrance sealed with fresh panels, replacing the loose bars that once stood here. It looked less abandoned and more intentionally hidden, but the most imposing structure was still ahead.
Hey, all right, folks, here we are. We are officially at the outpost. Hazardous area. Yeah, I'd reckon. That's the main mine, I'm gonna reckon, because that one's the one that's right by the outpost. That one probably gave them the most coal to use. They'd have some guards down there, and they'd have a guard right there with a rifle. They'd mine there, so that's where the guards were with their guns, protecting the area, making sure none of the inmates tried to run away while they hauled them up here. So just like with the other one, it used to be vertical bars instead of these horizontal, and you could actually kind of get in there. I don't know if you can see it very well with the GoPro light, but up there it looks like they caved it in. They collapsed it using explosives so people couldn't get in there and explore. So that's kind of a bummer, but I guess I can get why they did it. They don't want folks coming in here and getting hurt in a cave-in or something and then having to pay out insurance money. And they got this thing locked down tight. Just look very closely. You see the wall right there? It is bending outwards, and I'm going to be really sad on the day that it finally collapses. We got more stone structures here. I ain't quite sure what this would be used for. It's very low to the ground. Maybe this was just foundation and there was a larger structure on top of it. So this right here, it's a stone brick structure. It has a very low opening. They theorize that it's designed so when this thing blows up, I just can't remember which it was, but supposedly this structure is designed in a way to where it explodes in a more optimal direction for human survival. All right, here's another structure. Again, this may be for munitions, or maybe this was just their john. Yeah, this has been eroded and risen up here so much you can't even open it correctly.
Near the outpost stood the main mine tunnel, its entrance destroyed with explosives long ago. And perched above everything was the guard tower, locked, wrapped in wire, and slowly buckling outward as its concrete sagged with age. He moved through the remaining foundations, taking in what still survived. When he finally backed away from the site, he carried the same thought many viewers would later share. Everything here looked abandoned, yet strangely maintained. The sealed tunnels and reinforced barriers raise a quiet question. Are they preserving history or preventing access? Comments suggest both possibilities. Some see protection, others sense concealment. In a place once run by force, its silence feels deliberate. If the outpost has been abandoned for decades, who keeps closing it off? And why does every barrier look newer than everything around it? That's all for tonight's video. Which encounter gave you chills? Let us know in the comments below. Got your own experience? We want to hear it. And whatever you do, don't miss what's coming next.